Hello everyone, and welcome. I'm Kendra Larson. I'm the Archer Gallery Director and Clark Arts Talks Coordinator here at Clark College. There are snacks back there if you want to grab a snack. This will be recorded, just so you know. And also, this is the last week to see the show down at the Archer Gallery. So if you haven't had a chance, go down and check it out. It closes tomorrow, so do check that out. Our next show will be Nan Curtis. Mm-hmm. You know Nan, right? Yeah. So that'll be a fun event. So today we are super lucky to have the wonderful Rachel Wolf here speaking with us. Rachel Wolf is a professional photographer who specializes in cameraless photography, alternative antique processes, and creates immersive environments through light-based installations. Born and raised in Alaska, Wolf's work is deeply influenced by the profound presence and absence of light in her surroundings. Her direct experience of the aurora borealis instilled in her a deep appreciation for the transcendent and embodied qualities of light, which has since become her muse and the focus of her artistic practice. So, without any other...
Whatever.
This is also Rachel.
Thank you.
All right, are you?
Okay. Thanks, Kendra. Hi, I'm Rachel. I'm really excited to be here with all of you. And what I feel is pretty awesome is that we got kind of a small group. So I want to encourage you that we could have this be more of a conversation. So if at any point you want to ask me a question or you want to comment or tell me I'm wrong, please jump in. Okay, so with that, well, as Kendra said, I am infatuated with light. And I think a lot of us are photographers here, and so light is kind of everything, right? Well, for me it is. And so what I love is, like the light reflections, things like looking around this room, these moments are the things that intrigue me and make me curious about the world. So before I get going though, as Kendra mentioned, I work primarily in cameraless photography. And so does anyone have a sense of what that means?
We're hoping you're going to show us.
Cool, that's what we're gonna do. So what I would love is anyone willing to come up here and be a model for me? All you gotta, yes. Yay.
Yeah. There's two heroes from the same time.
I mean, we got, what, SD cards now? We got models. This is fantastic. Thank you. Hi, I'm Rachel.
I'm Drift.
Drift?
Drift.
Thank you for helping me.
Yeah.
Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually shine a lot of light on you.
That's okay.
Okay, but I have sunglasses for you. So you get to at least look cool while you do it. There we go. Okay, so what is cameraless photography? It means that I make my work solely in the darkroom. So I'm directly exposing photographic paper with light and chemicals and objects. So I'm not using a negative. So what I also love about photography, and really most things, is that once we learn the rules, we get to break the rules. And that's where I find magic, right? So I believe most of you have been in the darkroom, right? I got darkroom paper here. So first, I'm gonna pull this out, right? That's like a no-no, isn't it? Okay. So first rule we're breaking. Oh my God. So this piece of photo paper has now been totally exposed, right?
So tense.
I know, right? Doesn't this freak you out? Okay, so what we're gonna do, so I'm gonna put this. All right, well, you wanna come over here. You're a little taller than I am. So we're gonna put that higher. Okay, so what I want you to do, I'm gonna put a little more tape up, is I'm gonna have you stand right in front of this. Let's see. Do we need to go a little higher? No, that's pretty good. Okay, let's see. Tape. Well, who knows? There we go. There it is. I was smart, and then I forgot that I was smart. Okay. So, exactly, right? Thank you. All right, let's try and get these corners in a bit better. That'll help. Okay. All right, that should be good. So what we're gonna do, all right, you wanna go sideways. Let's go sideways so we get your profile. All right, you ready? You're gonna stand here for just a few minutes.
That's all right.
All right. So while drift, it's drift, right? Okay, while drift is awesome and poses for us, we're going to expose drift onto this paper. Do you think this is gonna work? I've got darkroom paper in the light with a bright light. Are we gonna get an image? Who knows? We'll find out. We're gonna give it a minute. Maybe someone can like actually time a couple minutes. I'll keep an eye on it. So, I'll keep talking while we do this so we can keep moving, or else I'll take your whole day. No, thanks. I got it going. Thanks. So, like anything, I have found my journey, and I'm sure you find too, is not a straight path. It has been a wonky thing. When I started out, when I went to college, I wanted to be a documentary photographer, photojournalist, and that's where I started. And when I was doing my college thesis, I was printing photos from a documentary I did, and I was making 6-foot photos from negatives. And to do that in my university, I had to do it from midnight to 9 a.m. and stack tables on top of each other to get the enlarger far enough away to project that image onto the floor to get it to be 6 by 4 feet. Which I'm sure some of you can understand there's some technical difficulties there. So, in the middle of the night, one night, to blow off some steam because nothing was working, I decided to lay down on the photo paper. And I made my first photogram, which is my first entry into cameraless photography. And this was it. And I was using mops to apply the chemistry, which is where you get that mark making from. And when I actually showed my peers in critique, when we were looking at my work, they were all like, "What is that?" And I was like, "No, doesn't matter. I was just messing around. That's not really the work." And so it wasn't until a few years later, after graduation, I was living in New York. I was assisting. I was doing a lot of fashion, whatever I could, which I really hated. But I started thinking about the body a lot again, and different ways of representing the body. And I started thinking about this. And so I started to make photograms in my apartment and bring friends over and lay them on paper and develop things in my shower. And that sort of kicked it off, and I really haven't looked back since. All right, let's see, what do we think? How are we doing over here? Are you doing okay?
Yep.
Can you hang out for another minute? Mm-hmm. All right, then I'll keep yapping for a second. So, to show you, that's sort of how I started getting into cameraless photography. So by utilizing people and the form, and got really excited about the idea of the index, like that person, that thing has to be on the paper. It's not just, that was there when you photographed it, but it is on that paper, right?
Can you take a second and explain the index?
Yes.
I'm not going to get that.
So in photography, the term indexical means that is the index, like the reference of that object, of that thing on that paper. And so Pliny the Elder, who is considered the first art historian, when he talks about the beginning of art, he talks about the silhouette. And that is what we're dealing with here. And I love this story that he tells. There's a maiden and her lover's going to war, and then to to remember him, to keep him close, she traces his silhouette, his shadow by candlelight as a way to keep him near when he is gone. And I love that idea of that presence, right? Our shadow, that presence that can stay, that remains even when one is gone. And that's one of the powers I love so much about the cameraless work. And so just a couple more. You can really take things further, obviously, with light and shadow and perspective. Okay, so before we jump in, I think we could see if this works. All right, you ready? Let's see. All right, let's try it. All right, you are free to go. All right, can you guys see this? So we have here that silhouette, drifts, shadow. Now, what do you think is going to happen now? So now that we've broken all the rules, we've made this image, it's not going to last, is it? It's going to fade away. So what we can do, if we put this in developer, it's going to go totally black because it's been so exposed. But we could make what's called a lumen print, where we then would put this only in fixer, and that will fix the image so that it would stay. So you can do that with, long exposures out in the world. Now, whenever you do a lumen, it is going to fade. The colors are going to change. I like to scan them in first, and it somehow keeps it. It's really incredible. Do you like this?
Yeah.
It'll fade unless you throw it in fixer, but if you scan it in, it'll stay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for that. So as I started down this path, one of the things like working with light and chemistry and that alchemy of photography to me is so exciting, and like really kind of like the things that you just start to see, even just when you put an image in developer, right? But like really making the ideas of the invisible visible, playing with those things. I started getting into cymatics. Actually, I was introduced to it by my husband. And has anyone heard of the study of cymatics? So Hans Jenny coined the term, and it is sound waves make images. And you can even go on YouTube or things and look at demonstrations of this. And so here, he's the one who really started using, a lot of people use like a metal plate and like salt or things to, for the sound waves to manipulate. And they will make geometric shapes like this. Different tones make different visuals. I know. I love this. It blows my mind. So in this idea, I wanted to start working with sounds. And so by bringing a really massive speaker and earplugs into the darkroom and cranking that, I started working with putting a tray of water and putting the photo paper in there, and then making the water or bringing in other substrates that the sound waves would move. And then by flashing that paper, I can capture that image, flashing it with light. So then here are a couple images I started to make using sound waves. Now, my setup is not nearly as sophisticated as Hans's was, or many people, so I'm not getting the exact geometric shapes, but I am getting, the creation of images. And so this study actually, as I started thinking about sound a lot, I found some old VHS tapes of my childhood. That's always crazy. Anyways, my mother passed when I was young, and in those videos, I heard her voice. And it surprised me, you know, but it wasn't something I had any expectation of, but it also wasn't something that sounded familiar. It was interesting. So I decided I wanted to create some work from her voice. Now, what I found was that when you need a constant tone when you're actually making those sound waves. If you have somebody talking, it just becomes this sort of jumbled mess. So because of that, I took her saying Rachel and Mommy, and I put it through a digital program, you know, one where you can see the sound waves. And by taking that on a computer and a projector into the darkroom, I projected the sound waves onto photo paper. So kind of using the projector like an enlarger-ish. So this is that, and this speaker is hers, which I played sounds of static, so because it's sounds of the past, you know, something that can't happen again. So really, this was part of my really diving into, like, how can we bring forth these other senses, these other things, and make them visual? And I'm going to kind of jump through a few projects here to kind of give you a sense of, you know, I love to experiment and explore. Process is a huge part of my practice. And so this piece, I started freaking out as we started losing a lot of photographic papers and films, and I started getting worried on what was still going to be available. So I partnered with another local photographer, Joseph Deese, and we made this piece, which was the retelling of Adam and Eve through a more feminine perspective. And this is 5 panels. They are 9 feet tall by 3 feet wide. We built this frame so it can fold up, but also to harken back to the old religious imagery. But to do this, we created our own emulsion, POP emulsion, which is called printing out paper. And what that is has anyone made like cyanotypes or Van Dyks, that kind of a thing? Yeah, so it's another way you can coat an emulsion onto a surface and make it light sensitive. And some of these are UV sensitive. So we created our own emulsion to put onto these pages, the 3 center ones, and the 2 ones on the end are wood with a different emulsion, liquid light. And what we did is, this is a compilation of about 30 different images that are all photograms or in some manner. But this is the other thing I love, is we live in this era of, we have digital, we have analog. For so long, people were arguing digital versus analog. I mean, what a boring conversation. Right now, we are in an exciting time where we have all these tools to use, and we get to use them all to make, you know, have the conversations we want to have. So as much as I live in the darkroom, I utilize digital as well. So here, what we did is we then compiled all of these photograms that we made into the computer to create these massive transparencies that we contact printed to do this. So I couldn't have done this without digital equipment. And to give you a sense of size, as here you can see the transparency laid out. These exposures were about 45 minutes. And then like on this, I laid down on top of the image of me to create another level in the moment. So I made a photogram here, just like what we did with Drift. So then, as I talk about things disappearing, all of a sudden I found that there were no more colored darkrooms in Portland. That was a really depressing time. We used to have this great place, DigiCraft, and you could go rent time there, and then they went out of business. And somebody, I heard, bought the color processor as an art object, which these things are ugly. They're huge, gray, 6-foot machines. It really upset me. Anyways, we'll move on from that. But so at the time, I was frustrated because I wasn't able to print color. And I don't know, has anyone printed color, darkroom? So color, it's a different set of chemistry. You need to do it in the pitch black. There's no safe light. You can have like a tiny, tiny little light. But it's a different process, and it's more toxic. And because of these machines that we had, you would put your paper in there. It would process through the chemistry and come out dry. So I decided to try it in my darkroom and start doing it in trays and do it by hand. So armed in some rain gear, some respirators, I started making color, doing color darkroom again. And this time, cameralessly. So, which was really exciting. And so things really started to shift about 10 years ago when I was able to start making color again. So I'm going to show you a few images from here. Some of these, cameraless photography is this weird family of grams. Okay, there's photograms, chemgrams, luminagrams. And they all mean, they're all kind of the same. And I don't know why they're all grams. Do you know why they're all grams? I don't know. But so a luminogram is when it is solely made by light. So this image is only made with light. And with color, darkroom, it is a game, like most things in photography, it's a game of opposites. So if you shine green onto paper, you're going to get magenta. It's the opposite on the color wheel. So it's a really fun game when you're in there. So this is solely made by light. Then you have photograms, like what we just did, where you use an object. And then we have chemgrams. And chemgrams are when it is all a chemical reaction. So that is one of the things, and then you can mix it all together, which is really magical. But there's no good word for that. I've been calling mine liminagraphs. And I just didn't want to use grams. So this image, for example, this is solely chemical. So all these colors are being made with chemical reactions and light reactions. And so when I started using photographic chemicals, household chemicals, anything I could find. You don't want to mix bleach and ammonium, things, right? We're not going to blow anything up. But after all that experimentation, I found that just using the two color chemistry of the developer and the fix, I can make the rainbow. And so most of these are all made with light and these two chemicals. Now, another thing I love about this way of working is we think a lot about photography as, we're taught the decisive moment, right? And my work is really about a lot of moments. My work takes time, it takes patience. My images can take days, weeks, months to make, which I love because it's another way of kind of flipping photography around. But yet this is like the essence of photography too, right? So what I've learned is that if I apply developer and then fixer, I'll get red. If I apply fixer, then developer, I'm going to get more of a yellow. If I then do a developer, then a fixer, then I wait and I come back and do developer, I'm going to get another color. So time, temperature, these are all major factors in the colors I make. Now the really fun part is that I start to grow crystals. The chemicals, because they're also not processed correctly. I am not processing these, putting them into fixer and water. So the other thing with these chemgrams is they are alive. They are continually evolving and changing. They are not fixed, and I find that fascinating. So that this object that is on the wall is alive. It is changing. It is evolving just like you and me. Collectors don't always love that. So in thinking about how I want to live with work, and the idea of the photographic frame, for so long it was the perfect prints, the 8-ply mat, all these perfections. God, that's boring. And so I've thought a lot, like, how can I get out of the frame? How can we hang things? How can we bring photography in, right? I love, Robert Heineken once said, a photograph is not an image of something, but an object about something. And like, how do we then bring that idea back into our photography? So I started trying different ways of displaying things. This is a process I created where I photograph and scan in all my digital work. It's also my way of fixing things. And I can study how things keep changing and how the colors change over time. And then I have the scans to show me what it used to be. So here, I'm taking digital images, I'm printing them out onto Pictorico, a transparency. And I take aluminum, I build a frame behind it, sand it, and attach the transparency with epoxy. And has anyone worked with epoxy? Yeah, it's a laborious material. It's picky, right? Those air bubbles and poof, yep, So what I found, though, that really excited me was that when you put the epoxy on, there's another chemical reaction that happens with that and the print, and it actually pulls the whites out and the very light colors out, and so they become clear, and you can see the aluminum behind it. There's a little hue left, but I found that I really enjoyed it. So, for example, this is a piece that is all on aluminum like that, and these panels are all 2 feet by 4 feet. So just go back because I wanted to throw in a couple of these installations I've done. Because light is awesome. I've created a few installations where for one to really experience light in ways that I would like to share. So this is an image from a piece I did where I built a room, a 6 by 8 foot room. I even learned how to drywall and stuff. Building this spot on. So what it was when you walked into this room, there was no light except for this one beam of light that was coming and pointing at your heart, and this is what it was. It was this rainbow. And using diffraction grating film. So like a prism. So white light contains the entire spectrum of color, right? And so utilizing a prism or a diffraction grating film, you can break that white light up into the spectrum. And so that's how I did this. But then to manifest the light, I used a haze machine. But if any of you have been with a fog machine or a haze machine, there always this awful smell that comes with it, which I didn't want to have, so I made my own juice, so that it wouldn't smell like that. Because, these are the things you want to think about when you're having an exhibition, is what are these sort of connotations that somebody might bring forth that you don't want? So how do we control that? So to give you a sense, this is somebody in the space. This is another installation I did. There's a great project and curator, Jessica Nickel, who does Seder projects. And one of the best things, and I think she epitomizes it, that a curator once told me was, don't wait to be invited to the party. Throw the party, right? So make it happen. So that's what Jessica's done, and she has worked with places in Portland that are vacant commercial spaces, and has, the landlords have let her turn them into gallery space. So this was a 20,000 square foot space that is now an architectural firm, but before they did that, we got to have a show. And so these are the exciting things. When have I mean, I don't know if I'll ever be offered a 20,000 square foot space to play with again. I mean, how cool is that? So this, and I did this with my art collectives of 3 other women. So this is one of my pieces there where I'm using 4 slide projectors and cloth, and the projectors are going through and you know, we're getting these different color slides happening, but you get to actually walk through there and get to play with the color. These are some of the things that just. So then I want to kind of switch gears a little bit into, I started really delving into time. And this, I don't know, lo and behold, it was lockdown that really got me interested in time. Because, you know, I had some time. Do you guys have some time? So I started working a lot. Even, like I mentioned, my work is very time-based anyways, but I started working a lot, thinking more intentionally about time in the work. At the time, I was supposed to do a talk, and then they're like, can you just make it a video? So while I was doing that and trying to show it, what I did, this is a 4-foot piece of colored darkroom paper that I put in my sink, and I put developer and fixer on my shoes, and so as I videotaped myself, this was a record of me videotaping it. So those dots of black that you see in the corner is my tripod. I would dip it in developer and have it there. And this is just fun, right? Like, it was just that idea of how am I going to document all this time? You know, making a video, as some of you probably know, takes a while, right? But so this was sort of a foray into really thinking about time. So this is in my darkroom at home. And so during COVID, during lockdown, every morning I would come in, and you can see here I've got, those are actually 2 syringes. One has fixer, one has developer. And every morning I would go in and do drips of a syringe of each every morning for a year. As a document of time during COVID. And this is what that looks like. That's 1 year of drips. But like I said, this is the things that I'm curious about, the things that I'm playing with. Also in that same vein, when we went into lockdown, these little cans here, I don't know if you can see, I made pinhole cameras. Does everybody know what that is? All right, maybe. So I decided, so by the way, a 16-ounce can, it's a 5x7 sheet of photo paper. So I thought, okay, I'm gonna put these out, I'm gonna expose these pinhole cameras, this image, the whole time we're in quarantine, which in my naivete at the time, I thought would just be a few weeks. So because that then, like, exiting quarantine became kind of this moving target, I left them up until I was vaccinated, which was about 445 days. So, in the same sense as what we did with drift, these images being exposed for 445 days, I couldn't just put in developer, they would go black. So I scanned them in, and then I fixed them. And these are these images. What you see, these archy lines that are going, that is the sun rising and setting 445 times. Now this other imagery that you see, this sort of the bubbles and things, that's weather. That is water, that is things. Even with my amazing duct tape abilities, water gets in there after a year and a half. But I love it. I feel like that actually, even though you can't really see like an image of my yard. I think that's more exciting than my yard. It's just grass and stuff anyway. So, but another way of sort of thinking about time and playing with time in photography. And so one more on these. This is an exhibition I did where a lot of the pieces in the exhibition were time-based. So this is a cyanotype, a black and white paper, and color darkroom paper. And so that the entire duration of the exhibition, these were exposing. And then this is what they looked like after the fact. All right, quick question. Which one do you think is the color paper? Top right? I would think that too. That's the black and white paper. I know. So you actually, this is the most amazing thing. Once again, I don't totally know why, which I also, is why photography is so awesome, is that with black and white and a lumen print, and over time, and especially with something like a plant, where you also have the chemistry of the plant matter reacting as well, you get these colors. The color paper is that top left one. I mean, I don't know why, but lumens do not work with color. So when you're doing yours, use black and white. Scan it in first. But that was my last color one. And then this is actually my sink in my darkroom. This is about 14 feet by 5 feet, so I can do 14-foot prints. Once I get bigger than that, it's a little more complicated. But I decided in this sort of time-based idea, this is about a 16-foot piece of photo paper, and I spent about 6 months where I just did all my work on top of it. So this is basically a documentation of 6 months of my working. I think it's kind of cool. I don't think it's like the most aesthetically beautiful thing, but I really love the idea of what this is. Okay, so as I keep yapping here, I'm gonna kind of bring this back a bit. I'm gonna show you just sort of a bit more of where I am these days. So I kind of am still incorporating all these ideas of time and other senses and other materials, and it's all a part of what inspires me. And then pieces like this, for example, the speckles, the white, that is crystallization. And so these things will keep changing. And what is even great is I'll have a piece that I make, I'll say it's done, but as I said, they're never really done. And so I'll come back, and a month later, or 2 months later, and the colors are different. Sometimes I'm like, oh my God, it's even better. Sometimes I think it's worse, but hence why we scan them in to kind of control some of that. I'm going to show you a few more things. Now this one, so not only do I do it on paper, but film as well. So this is a 35mm roll of film that I worked with chemically and with light. This is it in a museum in Florida where I actually, 35mm film is kind of small. So I scanned it in and I printed it on this vinyl adhesive paper. So that this is about, I think this was about 40 feet long, which is why we have this very slow-mo video of it. But this one I was playing with a lot, with just a lot of chance on this one, because I would put the chemistry on the film, roll it back up, put it back in the canister, come back the next day and do it again and again and again. And I like leaving the reel on the end to really demonstrate like that, the photography of this. And so one of the things recent, like the last little bit is that I've been adding into things is layering. And so I wanted to give you a sense of this, another like mark making I've been doing. So you can kind of see here I've been peeling things back. As you know, I think you might know that like if when you come out of the darkroom and you got 2 pieces of darkroom paper and they're wet and they dry together, they're gonna stick together, right? You're not getting those apart, right? So I've been kind of taking that idea instead of getting rid of it and making these pieces stick together and layer up with more photo paper. And once again, breaking the rules, right? So been working a lot with this, for example, is 9 pieces of 16 by 20 paper, and now they're all stuck together because of as the chemicals and time and as they're wet, it becomes these larger pieces. So, so not just adding things on top, but creating larger canvases as well. And utilizing things, I love talking about photography here. We're using like 8 by 10, 11 by 14, 16 by 20, 20 by 24 paper to just layer each other and come apart and kind of talking about photography, our sizes, our paper. But you can see, I don't know, like these shapes and things, this is all layering of more photo paper, those triangles and squares. I've been making a lot of circular images, but man, those are hard to display. I gotta say, the whole circles and magnets work, but frames are difficult. And cutting, layering, this has been the exciting place that I've been diving into. And once again, playing with how I want to display things, having the darkroom paper coming out of the frame. Then you start to see the back edges of like the chemicals on the back, because these are not, they can smell, they got stuff, they're really fun. And these are from a show last month where we were really talking about the object and the surface. So this is actually, it's a 15-foot long photograph, but it's double-sided, so there's an image on each side as you see that sort of coming out of the frame and winding on the shelf in the gallery. You're getting both sides in 2 different images. And so, and then where I am right now and what I'm working on is a new project. I just crushed cancer, and so I have been documenting my process and doing photograms and different things. And so this is one before my first surgery that I did. And you see on the throat there's sort of that's a stain, a chemical stain from when the photogram was drying. And I could rewash that and get rid of that. But this is one of those moments of a happy accident. I think I like it. I like that it's in my throat. I like that it's there talking about my voice. And I think that adds to the image. So this is one more of those reasons where, I love, I really feel we gotta listen to the work and we make. We can have our intention, we can have our idea, we can think about what it's gonna be. But once we start making, we've gotta listen. And we gotta be open and flexible. And that's where the magic happens. If we stand and say, and are just like no, that's when we're gonna have problems. But with that, I would like to allow it to be more of a conversation, and I can shut up, but here we are. Yeah?
With some of the clear images that you took, was that still cameraless? And if so, how were you getting those exposures? Or like the ones where you showed us with the larger space, for instance, and the different projectors?
Oh, that image was a photograph of the installation.
Okay, all right, cool.
Yeah.
For a second there, I was just like, wow.
We gotta figure that out. That's what we gotta do. That would be rad.
Let me see. How does, let's say, 2 subjects, if, let's say, expose one separately over another work? Does it like I could give an explanation. I could have an explanation how it kind of works because that would be an interesting question to think about.
So, if I'm getting it correctly, are you saying what would happen if I had two works, but I'm exposing double?
Like two subjects, yeah.
Oh, and I want to put them on the one piece of paper?
Yeah.
Ooh, that's a good question. So we could do it a couple different ways.
Yeah.
One way is we could just sort of like some of these put two people or two things there. But one really great way to do something like that is, okay, so as things get further away from the paper, it's gonna become, like right now, I was right up against it, so it's very much white and black. But the further away I'm gonna get from that paper, more gradations of gray is gonna happen, because more light is gonna get around that object and hit the paper. So one way you can do that, now depending on what your subjects are, but let's say they're objects, you could have a piece of photo paper, put one thing on the paper, and then you could use glass or something, and prop that up. So let's say your object's 3 inches, you prop your glass to 4 inches, and you can put another object on the glass. And you can keep building, and you can actually compose that way. So the further away, those objects are gonna be darker, and they'll be lighter here. So that's another way you could sort of create that dynamic.
Could you also move the light source too?
And exactly that. So light sources, multiple light sources, you can, by flashing and doing a couple different exposures, so you could bring somebody in and bring somebody out. You could sort of block things off, same akin to when you might burn and dodge in the darkroom. The other, so one way I control my light in my darkroom is I take my darkroom, the enlarger timer, and I take it off the enlarger and I plug lights into it. So I can then control that light source down to 1/10 of a second, just like I would with the enlarger. And then I can control those lights, and I use multiple lights, different things. I kind of look crazy in there, so I've got it hooked up to a pedal, so I can control the light with my foot, and I got my hands free to do stuff.
So there's like different colors of lights interact really differently in terms of exposure to subject as well?
Yes, so different colored lights are, with color paper, are gonna create different colors, but different colors are gonna diffuse light in different ways. So yes, because that means if it's like a yellow, you won't need as much time because that light's not diffused as much as if you had maybe a magenta hue on it. So this can be as simple or as sophisticated as you want. That's what's really cool.
So technical. You could probably think of like color fringed RGB otherwise, in terms of doing exposure otherwise.
Oh yeah.
Do you have any examples of how some of your images change over time?
That's a freaking big one. Let me see. Do I have any images with me? Okay, I'm gonna have to think about that because I don't know. I don't have any in this.
We can look at the picture of drift again.
Yeah. Gosh, that would have been a great thing for me to bring. You know what I could do? Maybe I could email that to Sean, and you guys could see that in class, because I would love to show you, and I don't know how I can pull that off at the moment. And then if you have any questions after that, you guys can always hit me up. Yeah.
Now, and this is just me, one more. When you say like you scan them, what exactly are you doing when you say that? Because I genuinely can't think of what you're doing.
Oh, So to make them digital, so I actually put them on a scanner.
Okay. Sorry, I thought I was overthinking about it.
No, that's, hey, thank you for asking. So, because, you know, I'm sure somebody else had the same thought. Yes, a lot of them I will scan in, but especially some of the larger ones, I can't. So in my studio, I have made a wall. I put a metal so that I can magnetize pieces there. So I've got about a 4 by 8 foot piece of metal up. So I magnetize my images and I photograph them to make them digital. So any of the big ones you've seen in here of people or some of the larger ones, those are photographs of the piece. Yeah.
When you're talking about the chemgrams, and you said you use like a variety of like a photogram, chemgram, luminogram vibes, are you putting light, like how are you doing it with the fixer and the developer? Are you like putting light on them when they're in the chemicals, or?
Great question. I did not explain that. So with my chemgrams, most of them I am doing in the light, like this. We could do it right here. I mean, it needs better ventilation, but yes, a lot of my chemgrams are actually made in light, so they are reacting to the light in my darkroom, like while I'm applying the chemistry. Now, you can mix it up and do it in the dark, and you can do it with an actual, like, if you were exposing an image from a negative, you could add a bit of a chemical play on top of that. You can do a bit of a chemical play in the dark. I haven't found by doing, I think it actually works a little better in the light. Now, the way I make chemgrams is not the technical way. Pierre Cordier coined the term chemgram, and the way he made them is he would take the photo paper and put a substrate on it, like whether it was hard or soft, so anything from maybe Vaseline to nail polish, some sort of coating on the paper. And then he would go in with some sort of, you know, whether it was like, for lack of a better term, like something pokey, like a dental tool or an X-Acto blade there, that's what I was looking for, and would draw into that paper. And then having a tray of fixer and developer would alternate the image going from fixer to developer and back. And what that does is it slowly eats away at that substrate. And so you actually create that image that you drew. And then you get, because of, if you're doing it in black and white, you're gonna get black from developer, you're gonna get white from fixer, and then you're gonna get that alteration as it eats away at that resist and sort of creates that. So that's also another way you can do it, and that would be done totally in the dark room. But that's just not my process. But yes, you can do it kind of any way. But I think doing it in the light is great. Okay, it's not that bad.
Oh no, yeah, no, I think you answered my question. I was just thinking about like lightly putting chemicals on, because I tried splatter painting one once, and I was like, oh, you could probably do that with chemicals too. You know, like pick different points to develop the photo.
Yes. Yeah, you can't go do it.
For you, how have there been any where you were just like, oh, this is just a failure? Like, how many could you say in your entire process?
All the time. But I keep them. Because since they change, sometimes I come back to them and I'm like, I like this. You know? So I don't throw anything away. And it's hard, you know, I do think that idea of like failure, or that idea of like I don't like it, or this didn't do what I expected or what I wanted, sometimes can be the most exciting. I usually get the most out of it, and sometimes when I actually get out of my head of that idea that like this sucks, and if I can get back and get drop whatever ego is happening and get back away from that, sometimes it really opens up a whole new avenue. And really, I think honestly, that is how I've ended up down the path I have, is mistakes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Most of us in the room probably understand how financially demanding photography is as a hobby, but how financially viable would you say is like your, or like the way that you create, like with the chemicals and everything, like because we're
sorry, go ahead.
not in terms of profit, in terms of getting into it, like if you wanted to do things like your process.
Okay, that's way better.
I know the artist's like commentary.
Well, the really fun thing about what, especially with the chemograms and this experimental process that I do, even with lumens, is that because I'm not trying to achieve this idea of the perfect print, you know, I'm not going for the zone system and, you know, really going for that idea. One of the great things is I use expired paper, I can use expired chemistry, so I am like one of those freak shows that's like, oh my God, give it to me. What are you throwing away? I will use it. So in that way, it actually makes it more viable because I don't have to have the freshest chemistry or the best paper. Now, it does have an effect. So I do buy new stuff too. So in that sense, you know, in a lot of ways, what I'm doing, even though it is analog and it does cost more than digital process does, it's actually, I think, a lot more affordable in a lot of ways because I can utilize what other people want to throw away. And I'm not as, yeah. So I do find that, I do think it is a little bit more cost effective. So let's all do it.